Welcome into the Pro Football Radio Podcast. We are at episode number 14. This is your co-host, Jay Cheema, with the pride and joy of Nashua, New Hampshire, one the Puma.
Thank you. Far too kind. But just remember, born and raised in M-Town, Merrimack.
Oh, we're changing it again now?
Merrimack.
We're changing it again now? Listen.
And by the way, we're at 15 now. We're at 15. For those of you that are trying to figure out, are they cross-eyed and drooling? We are, because we've been spending, the last half hour trying to figure out why the microphones aren't picking up. So this is a good time.
Are we really at 15 or 14?
This is 15. 14 was last week, or the week before, because we took a week off. Yeah, 14.
All right. Well, I guess we're at 15, bro.
15.
All right.
Jesus. But no, seriously. We spent about 45 minutes trying to figure out why my microphone was being picked up, but Jay's wasn't, and then vice versa.
Oh, but do we have a show for you today?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a show for you today?
We're in the shoulder season of the football calendar, so...
we're just making up stuff over here.
It's fine.
But yeah, I missed you last week. We didn't have an episode last week. We were both busy with stuff, but it's good to be back, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. I'm stoked. What'd you do on your time off?
So my brother was in town. We went down to New York City, and I was saying to you off the podcast, going to New York City is an adventure in itself, right? And every time you go, within the first hour, if you don't live there, something happens. To me personally, every time I go in the first hour, something happens that gets me jarred and gets me right back into that. You know what? You're not in Connecticut anymore. It lets me know I'm in New York City. And this time around, it was we get down there, we get into the Uber, we're going down to downtown, I believe, and I see something out the corner of my eye. It's the Uber's going about 40 miles per hour, and I get a glimpse into an alleyway.
40 miles an hour in New York City traffic?
It was, maybe a little less, maybe 30 miles per hour, whatever it was. But it was moving fast, past an alleyway, and I see out of the corner of my eye, just like a snippet of this alleyway, of a homeless man and a cat fighting.
What?
It's funny because the homeless man had something in his hand. I don't want to say it's a knife. Maybe it was like a broom or something small, kind of like a little club or something, right?
Get off my property.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he's jabbing, right? And then I see this cat just lunge.
Oh my God.
And it's funny because I just got a glimpse. I just got a snapshot of what was happening in the alleyway, and obviously the Uber was gone at that point. But I've been thinking about that for the week now. I'm like, what does this guy's life come to where he's
homeless dude fighting a cat.
Yeah, dude.
Swashbuckler style.
You ever see like a comic book still, like an action shot?
Yeah.
That's what I have of that alleyway. It's just dark alley. There's a homeless man right here, and then this cat lunging, and that's been ingrained in my mind.
You win.
And I immediately am like, all right, well, I guess I'm in New York City, right? I better
lace up your boots, buddy boy. No, that's great. Your brother have a good time?
My brother had a great time, man. He was out here for the first time in Connecticut, visiting me. I've been out here for 3 years or so, and this is the first time family has come and visit me. So it was really nice to have him out here.
That's good. Good.
Yeah. How about you? What'd you do?
Oh God, what did I do? Surprised my dad. I picked him up at the airport. He had to go down to Brazil and handle some family business. So he was happy. I surprised him at the airport.
Oh, nice, man.
So picked him up at Boston Logan. That was a job and a half because you figured if you're coming back from a flight, you're gonna leave through the arrival gate, right?
Sure.
No, not homeboy. No, he somehow found a way to go
to
to
departures, huh?
So here I am at Logan, and I'm sitting right in front of a state trooper and waiting for my dad, and we keep calling him, but I don't want to say anything because I'm trying to surprise him.
Sure.
So my mom and sis are trying to give him directions, and we're trying to figure out where he's at, and it's not working. And finally, I'm just like, have him look around and say what he sees.
Yeah.
And he said that he was near departures. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So go out. I missed the exit to get back into the airport. So I had to go down the highway again, bang a U-turn. Dude, it was a whole friggin' process.
Oh, boy.
But long story short, surprised my dad. Finally saw Avengers Endgame.
Oh, how'd you like it?
It was good.
Yeah.
I need to see it again.
Right? That's what I thought as well.
There's a lot to take in. And what messed me up a little bit was I didn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. And I didn't see Thor: The Dark World. So I'm watching these movies. I'm like, I didn't realize Thor's mom died. I had no idea. And then, you know,
that was kind of sad. That was a heartfelt moment.
It was bad.
Thor got fucked around in this movie, man. They took him to town, you know?
They did. He looked like the dude. I mean, it's 2 weeks out. We got to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So, I mean, he looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski, but then, like, at the beginning part of the movie, Ant-Man is stuck in the quantum realm, and I'm trying to figure out why he got there.
Yep.
So I see the Endgame movie, and then a couple of days later, I watch Ant-Man versus the Wasp, and I see the post scene.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
blew
my mind. It explained so much.
Yeah, well, all 22 movies in this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe led up to this point. So everything is kind of interwoven into the storyline of Endgame. So, but my favorite character in the MCU quickly is listen. So my favorite character used to be Iron Man, like everybody else growing up, right? But quickly, Thor has become my favorite MCU character. He was absolutely hilarious in Thor Ragnarok. And then just how his story arc has become in this latest Endgame where, like, yeah, he was like a joke, but he was still, like, heartfelt. And he has those moments where he's, like, sleeping in the meeting room and he has the glasses on. They're like, is he sleeping right now? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And at the end, the last scene with him and Peter Quill on the ship where they're about to go off.
Oh, yeah, with, like, fight night.
Well, at the end of the day, I think they're going to go ahead and just marry him into that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 story. Like, he's going to be on that ship. He's going to be on the ship with Quill, and I think it's going to be comedy gold going forward. Yeah. So,
but I definitely need to see it again. There was a lot to take in, and out of the two, like, Infinity Wars is just, to me, like,
it's so much better. Yeah, there's more action, there's more fighting. It's just a better story in general. Yeah. You know? So
I mean, it seemed like they were just trying to do, like, really snippets and kind of, in my opinion, rush the plot to just get to the final showdown. Yeah. And that final showdown was dope. I mean, that iconic, like, image of all of, like, Cap and everybody standing behind him, and, you know, Thor. I'm sorry, what's his name? Thanos and everybody standing behind him. It was kind of badass. You know, it was. But, like, listen, if the movie's only 3 hours, don't rush the damn shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, turn that into Apocalypse Now if you have to.
Speaking of movies, I saw a movie Friday night that you would be really proud of. Me.
Did you watch Forrest Gump all the way through?
Absolutely not. I did not watch Forrest Gump.
I don't want to hear this noise.
It was another movie from the 80s. It was it came out before I was even born. Back to the Future. I finally got around to watching that. And
tread lightly.
Surprisingly, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Surprisingly, I enjoyed it. You know?
Once you hit 88 miles an hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Now, I really like what's that kid's name?
Marty McFly.
Yes, yeah, I liked him. I liked his storyline. I liked how, like, he went in the past and saw, like, his
pops.
Yeah, it was cool. It was kind of cool and, like, you know, sweet seeing his, like, you know, mom and dad and stuff. But I didn't like that old dude, the Doc. I don't like him. He's just kind of very
Doc Brown.
I don't know. He just didn't do anything for me, right? But what I had an issue with was that Biff dude. That dude seemed like he's gonna be a rapist growing up. Like, he was ready I was sitting there like, you cannot have this movie today. You cannot have. Times have
changed.
Trying
to rape his mom.
I know, right? I was like, should I be, like, offended right now?
Can we just address the fact that there are times in the movie where you're wondering, is Marty McFly gonna get to third base with his mom?
I know, right? I'm like, and that was the funniest thing about this whole thing. I was like, oh my god, like, his mom is such a sloop back in the days.
I mean, listen, Leah Thompson in her heyday, she was fine. She was fine in that movie.
Well, so we actually went down. So a good friend of mine, Nicole, was like, "Hey, let's go out to Two Roads Brewery down in Stratford, and it's really cool, man. We gotta go this summer where they have every Friday they have movies, and they, like, take the whole parking lot of Stratford Two Roads Brewery, put up a massive screen. There's, like, outdoor like vendors with, like, ice cream. There's, like, you know, like, food and stuff, and you bring your own lawn chairs. You sit down, you watch the movie. It's absolutely amazing. The issue was halfway through, around 9 p.m., it got really cold. Mm-hmm. And I had to bring a blanket with me.
Well, here you go.
And I grabbed, and Nicole brought out, like, a little picnic, like, blanket you lay down and you sit on. And I started using that as a blanket. I'm like, this is the worst blanket ever. I'm still fucking cold. What's wrong with this?
It's a picnic
I'm like, Nicole, what's wrong with this blanket? And she's like, you moron, that's for the ground.
Yeah, the only person that's going to use that blanket is Yogi Bear. Come on. Christ.
But no, I did enjoy Back to the Future. And I will probably have to watch Back to the Future too.
See, here's my thing. Back to the Future 1, gold. Second one, good. Third one, For those of you who've seen The Godfather Part 3, you don't really need to see it. You just need to see the first two, and you can just end it and call it a day. You know, if you want to put a bow on the series, you can watch it. But in my opinion, you're not missing much.
Yeah.
Stick with the first two.
Yeah. So I got all those references finally on why the DeLorean is so popular and this and that. But I had a good time. I genuinely was like, you know what? I had a good time.
It was awesome. It was like ahead of its time too.
Yeah, yeah.
In my opinion too.
Before we get to actual football stuff, I have one last thing I want to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
There's an event that happens to me on a weekly basis that just triggers me, right? I'll usually have a good week, and there's just one small event that just kind of pisses me off beyond belief, and it almost destroys my week, right?
Yeah.
This week, you know what it was?
What?
The fucking stupid royal baby. I'm sick and tired.
Roller baby?
The royal baby.
Oh, royal baby. You know what?
Dude, I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of the Royals. I am so sick and tired of their bullshit. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't want our fucking ABC and CBS News coverage covering that bullshit.
Right.
I'm just tired of the royal family in general. They don't do nothing. They're worthless. And now they have this shitty baby that they're sticking down our fucking throats. I'm tired of it, dude.
Can we just talk about we broke away from England in the American Revolution.
We won.
If you look at every royal wedding or a royal baby, or if they did like a royal gender reveal party, they would probably have ratings through the roof. Like, we're all about trying to go back home. We all want to be British all of a sudden. Like, oh, pip pip cheerio. Oh my God, the royal baby. I don't care.
If George Washington saw how this actually plays out, and we're like, just celebrating the royal baby, he would be rolling over in his grave right now.
No. Dude,
he didn't go through war for this shit.
England, you don't even know what you're doing with Brexit. Like, you have no idea. Theresa May be out of the government by the end of the week. Who knows?
She's probably gonna resign.
They're in limbo, and everybody just drops everything to care about. Dude, what the hell is the baby's name? Sussex?
It was like Archie or something.
No, that's even like tame. I think it's like Sussex.
No, it was Archie, bro.
It's Archie.
It was Archie because they wanted to have a name that would unite both America and England. I don't know how they picked Archie.
Archie?
Yeah.
What, for Archie Manning?
I hope to God not.
The Manning family
strikes again, right? Yeah. Oh my God, no, I hope not. But no, every single time I see the royal wedding or the royal family, I don't give a fuck, dude. I could care less. Go fuck yourself. Listen, I'm not a big Trump supporter at all, and we're not getting into politics here.
Believe me,
we're not gonna get into it, right? But I mean,
we kind of did with the royal baby.
I loved when he went over there and he walked in front of the queen. You remember that? The whole so apparently when you walk with the queen, you're supposed to walk to her side,
right?
Or maybe behind her, one of those two. But you're never supposed to walk in front of her. This dude went out there and straight up was walking in front of her, and everybody in England was doing this shit. I'm just like, that's my boy right there. That's Team Trump. I get it.
Oh my God, here we go. Make America great again.
But yeah, man, that was the one thing that almost kind of derailed my week. But I kind of.
Yeah, no,
I'm glad you agree. We finally agree on something.
I'm trying to go on Twitter and look at stuff and I don't care about the royal baby.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, and not to be crass, but maybe I shouldn't go there. But even when Princess Diana died, I was too young, but I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? But my parents were all weepy-eyed about it, which I don't understand. They're from Pakistan, and they're big into oh my God, Princess Diana died. I'm like, I don't care. See, I had to fake care because I was seeing my parents are straight. I was like, oh yeah, but deep down I was like, yeah.
I remember the funeral, and I mean that was, not to sound again crass, but that was almost like must-watch TV. That was my Kennedy. That was my JFK. I guess you could say.
Okay, I get it.
So then everyone in the Silver House is watching that, and then my sister's watching Elton John play "Candle in the Wind," and I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I didn't care.
I think
I cared, but I didn't care. If that makes any sense.
I think I would be better with the royal family. I would accept them more if they had interest in our royal family, the Kardashians.
I was with you, Jay.
If Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are on British TV with their shitty kids, then I'm like, oh, you know what?
Absolutely.
It's a fair trade.
It's not OJ's fault that the royal family's in power.
It's not
OJ's fault because, hey, we couldn't.
Good side note here. Who would be America's royal family?
America's royal family?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Would it be Jerry Jones and his family? Who would it be?
Jones?
Yeah, who would be the royal family of America? Who would be this is the...
from a worldwide view, Christ, it probably is the Kardashians. I don't know. Listen, it might be, but I'm just...
Kardashians, Trumps, who else? Who could it possibly be? Is it the Trumps?
It used to be the Kennedys. It used to be. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? Probably Caroline's low-key. I don't know.
Who's Caroline?
Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of JFK.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, that's kind of. I mean, I'm gonna die on this hill, Jay. That like it's all OJ's fault. Like
That's fine.
I don't care if the outside world, some guy from Matobo or Mozambique, Zimbabwe, is like, oh, I want to go to America to see the Kardashians. They're the definition of America. That's fine. I'm still gonna die on that hill. That is OJ's fault. All you had to do is just be like, I'm OJ Simpson. I have all this money. I can like row, boats and hoes kind of deal. And no, I got hung up about Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman coming back, dropping sunglasses off, and I just gotta lop people's heads off. Thanks.
I feel like you
put this whole thing.
No, I feel like
into warp speed.
Like I didn't even go there. Like I think you just love bringing that up.
It's all his fault. It's all his fault. It's all his fault.
I was trying to get to the bottom of who's America's royal family, and you were like, "Fucking OJ."
I'm saying the outside world might think it's the Kardashians and Kanye West and Northwest the baby and Southeast West the other kid.
I call her Southwest Airlines Kardashian.
So
that's her official name.
I'm just saying, OJ's fault is going to be the hill I will die on.
All right, that's cool, man. That's cool. All right. Let's actually get into some football, right?
Yeah, right.
So this week, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through each division. We're not going to actually pick the winners and losers or the actual records overall. We're just going to give you a general feel who we think we're leaning towards post-draft. We've taken all the information after the draft, all the undrafted free agent signings. We're just going to kind of give you a good idea of what exactly is going to be in regards to who's going to win the divisions.
Right.
You want to start with the AFC East?
Yeah, AFC East.
Go for it.
I mean, it's the Patriots division. Damn
right. I love when you say it. I love when you say it.
There's a reason why, they've won it for what, 11 straight years?
Yeah.
It is. It biased aside, they had a really good draft.
They had a great draft.
I mean,
the rich get richer,
I mean, I'm going to say this again. N'Keal Harry, that's a great pickup.
Yeah.
A giant target for Tom Brady in the red zone. The Jawan Williams, cornerback, you can never have enough defensive backs. And Chase Winovich, I think that was a diamond in the rough. That was a true value find.
I don't want to be a homer here. That's a great pick right there, but he has the makings of potential defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
And
nobody's talking about
with his motor, and that's the ultimate Patriot pick, man. They're not going to pick on that Michigan defensive line. Mm-hmm. There was Rashawn Gary, whatever it is,
yep.
And Winovich. And obviously, Gray went much higher in the first round, but Winovich is going to be that player that's actually going to produce more in the NFL.
Right. And I think he would essentially fill where Trey Flowers was. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Put him on defensive line.
And then, Damian Harris, you brought this up. I mean, versatile running back. He was second to Joshua Jacobs at Alabama. And I mean, he's super versatile. And just another body in a Hydra running attack.
Yep.
So you can never have enough, especially if you're kind of thin at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Line up James White, like you said, on the outside. Mm-hmm. I mean, they can all catch the ball, just sort of Rex Burkhead maybe, but hey, that's it. They had a great draft.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna go in through all that again, just because we've already done this. But Patriots, they're gonna win the division hands down. Now coming in second, I'm torn between the Jets and the Bills. Both made great moves. I think I'm leaning more towards the Jets just because of what they did on the defensive side.
Right.
Just because of Jamal Adams, C.J. Mosley, Quinnen Williams. Who's the defensive lineman they have that's really good? I forget his name, but he's also really good as well. And I think on that defensive front, additionally with the second year of Sam Darnold, with Le'Veon Bell, I think the Jets will be the second best team in that division, with the Bills probably coming in third and Dolphins fourth.
Right, and they got Ja'Kai Polite too. I mean, he fell to I think it was the third round, but he was a first round talent. His only issue was he stuck at interviews at the combine. But I'm going to go opposite. I got Buffalo finishing second. I've been bullish on Buffalo. And
I know.
Another hill I'm going to die on.
I see that. I can totally see your point of view. I can totally see it being flip-flop between Jets and Bills on the second spot.
I like the Ed Oliver prick. Ed Oliver pick.
Prick.
His head coach at Houston might say he was a prick, but I'm not saying that. Ed Oliver at falling to 9. They just finally gave Josh Allen weapons, and they got some offensive linemen in the draft too to keep him upright and keep him from running. So that's my pick. Pats, Bills, we kind of have second and third inverse. But whatever.
And then Dolphins being last, right?
I do have the Dolphins finishing last.
Yeah. What's your outtake on the Dolphins this year? Are they going to be, and I'll give the floor to you because you're the expert here, but are they going to be 4-12, or are they going to be 1-15? Or
I mean, last season they were 7-9. I mean, I seem like every team in this division made improvements. I just think the Dolphins are they're playing the long game, trying to get picks for 2020 and further down the road. So they're finally coming around the idea to losing. I think they could be a 4 to 6 win team, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
that point, I would just tank for hopefully 2 or.
I mean, and, the Dolphins, they have low risk. If Rosen doesn't pan out, they can go back in the quarterback pool. I mean, they're really in the driver's seat at that point.
Sure.
Rosen's going to a air quote better offensive line than what he had in Arizona, so he could surprise some people. I would be surprised if they were beyond a 6-win team.
Sure. Okay. AFC North next. This is a division that. Truthfully, there's 2 divisions we're going to talk about today, the NFC East and the AFC North, and maybe one more that it's up in the air, dude. It's truly up in the air.
I had a hard time with this, too.
Like, it's so up in the air, and it's so far in advance, and we're just going to give you a general feel of what we think is going to happen now. Obviously, we'll make our picks before the NFL season starts. I have a firm belief in once the last preseason game concludes, that's when you can make your picks of the season, because that's when all the cuts come, that's when all the injuries come from training camp, and that's a good meter. But as of right now, if I had to pick, I think the Browns will win that division. I think with all the hype that's around them, that's the only issue I have is if they start out 0-4 or 1-3 and the hype gets to them and the pressure gets to them, they're going to fold big time.
Dude, what happens if we talked about this on Wednesday, like a little pre-production meeting. What happens if week 1 they get their teeth kicked in by Tennessee? And I think they're playing at home. If they lose in Cleveland to Tennessee, which by all intents and purposes, not throwing shade to a Titans fan, they're kind of the least in that AFC South.
Sure.
And you're going against this air quote powerhouse in the NFC North now. They get their teeth kicked in.
Yeah,
Man,
and then if they lose, let's say they lose that game, and then they go to week 2 and they play the Jets on Monday Night Football. Could you imagine if they lose that game on the national stage?
Back to Big Apple.
And if they lose, if they go 0-2 with that second loss being against the Jets on the national stage, it's going to come.
Right.
Like the charity's already going to start.
Right.
So it all depends on how they come out of the gate on the first 4 games. If they come out 2-2, 3-1, 4-0. I think they'll win the division, but if they come out under 500 in those first 4 games,
they have to come out at 2-2.
Because stacked from top to bottom, the Browns and the Chargers probably have the best athletic players. They have the best NFL players on a roster. But then again, we all know it's not about just pure talent; it's about chemistry, putting a team together, and all that stuff. So I think it will be the Browns. Second, I think. I really don't know. There's 3 teams right there that between the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers. I absolutely hate Lamar Jackson. I think he's worthless as a quarterback. The Steelers are a dark horse. They could be either really good or really bad. And I think I might be leaning towards the Bengals. I think they might finally put out something of a valuable product. I think with the new coach coming over from the Los Angeles Rams, Zach Smith, I believe his name is.
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor. I think he will do wonders for A.J. Green and Andy Dalton in that offensive-minded passing attack. So, I don't know, man. There's a lot to still unfold before the season starts. But as of right now, I think it'll probably be Browns, Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens.
Right. And just to piggyback on the Bengals, I did key additions, and one of the additions was my old rule, addition by subtraction. They got rid of Marvin Lewis. And listen, the guy was a stalwart for the Bengals. To the ownership's credit, they stuck by their guy, but they haven't won a playoff game since I was in elementary school. Zach Taylor's going to open up the playbook. You only have so many years left with Andy Dalton and AJ.
Well,
Green.
this is it for Andy Dalton. If he doesn't pan out with Zach Taylor, I think this is when they're like, all right, you know what? We need to start finding a backup quarterback. There were some rumblings right now.
They went in the draft.
There was a lot of rumblings in this draft that maybe they should take a quarterback to replace Andy Dalton, but they obviously thinking they can give him another year.
And then, they got probably the best offensive tackle, Jonah Williams, and then they addressed one of the glaring holes on defense, which is linebacker. Cincinnati was almost historically bad last season. And to say that one of their key losses was Vontaze Burfict, who anyone that watches football knows he's a friggin' lunatic. That's saying something.
He's a piece of crap.
That's saying something.
He's a piece of crap.
They went in the draft. They got Jermaine Pratt from North Carolina State. They got him. I'm with you. I got Browns first, but I wasn't real comfortable going with the Browns at first because you have the general manager and the head coach saying, essentially, we haven't won shit yet. So, we're just trying to focus on OTAs and mandatory mini camp and training camp. And then you have the roster's starting to chirp. You have OBJ coming out saying like, "Oh, I want to be here for 5 years. I want."
He needs to shut up.
Yeah. It's not even just that. It's like OBJ comes out saying, "I want to turn this team into the Patriots within 5 years of being here and win titles." Okay, and then you have Myles Garrett coming out chirping that Greg Williams held him back on defensive moves, saying you only need 2 moves to be successful. And it's like, okay, you're talking about the guy that did Bountygate, and you're saying he told you to hold back? Dude, I'm not buying that.
I'm buying
that. It's really saying something. You're chirping now that he's out the door, and then their draft pick, the second rounder, Greedy Williams, on the microphone
shit. Yeah.
comes out and says, "Oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year."
Like,
so
there's so much shit talking out there, Jesus.
So like, you better win. You better win out the gate, and you better win fast, because if you go 0-2, you're going to hear it from everywhere about the Patriots in 5 years, and this rookie popping off, and what's Freddie Kitchens doing. Everyone already has Freddie Kitchens under the microscope, so they're going to have to win. And I got Baltimore as second, just because they got Mark Ingram. They've already established that they're going to be a run first team. We all know Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball, despite what Harbaugh has come out saying. He's improved his throwing ability, and they got Hollywood Brown. They're going to be a run-first team. They're probably going to be one of the league leaders in rushing attempts over Jacksonville.
Hollywood Brown is going to expose the inadequacies that Lamar Jackson has at quarterback.
And it's kind of interesting. They took Chase McSorley, I'm pretty sure, later on in the
Penn
rounds.
State, yep. I saw that. That was interesting because he can also run.
But he can throw.
He can plug and play into that offense, but he can throw as well. I've watched Chase McSorley for a couple years at Penn State, being an Ohio State fan, and he is straight up plug and play into that offense. And if Lamar Jackson ain't panning out, throw him in there.
Yep. So, I mean, I got Baltimore second, but, I mean, this division's a toss-up.
Yeah, it's a toss-up, dude. Seriously, like, this is one of the hardest one I'm picking, you know?
If Cincinnati can address their defense in a fast way, who knows?
Yeah.
They could be the dark horse team of the AFC altogether if they fix that defense, because, Jesus Christ, like, we probably could have started on that defense.
Sure. Okay, moving on next to the AFC South. I have the Houston Texans winning this division. The Colts coming in second. I believe the Jaguars will be third, and then the Tennessee Titans are fourth. There's a lot in this division as well that there's a lot of uncertainty. I really don't know where to go as well, but I think if I had to pick right now, post-draft, I think this will be a year that the Deshaun Watson and Bill O'Brien put it together and actually make a deep run in the playoffs. I think they'll win the division. They will actually win a couple of games and go to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean, Houston made moves. They took, I think, within the first 3 rounds, they took 2 offensive linemen. I mean, even the general manager and the head coach came out and said that they, quote, need bodyguards for Deshaun Watson. I mean, that was straight from a video that they had on their Instagram page of, their war room. And listen, Watson, I think, was, if he wasn't the most sacked or hit quarterback in the league last year, he was top 3. Like, that offensive line was a sieve. So they have to protect the investment. So I liked what they did. I have them second. I'm going Colts, only because they got Paris Campbell to line up opposite of T.Y. Hilton. Yep. They addressed the defense with Justin Houston in free agency, I'm pretty sure. And you know what? They kept their cap space intact. So say if they wanted to go after a Gerald McCoy in Tampa Bay, who's starting to become the squeaky wheel, and they wanted to add more to the defense, they could. They picked up the cornerback Rocky Yassin to address the secondary. I think they're the most complete team, in my opinion. But
the Gerald McCoy thing is interesting because there's been a lot of rumblings for the Cleveland Browns trading for him.
Where are you going to fit him, though?
I know. Dorsey apparently loves McCoy, and I believe there was some interest, I believe last week, and there were some rumblings between both teams, but it never panned out to anything. But I wouldn't be shocked if McCoy goes up towards Cleveland. And just by that interaction, I can tell the Browns are in it to win it, man. They are so aggressive right now.
You tied up like 2 years, 3 years worth of money to Sheldon Richardson. Like, I mean, that'd be great, but where are you going to put him?
Could you imagine Gerald McCoy, Richardson, Myles Garrett? Dude, that's a nasty defense right there.
I think he looked good in blue and white. You got that rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, that linebacker from last season. The name escapes me. You got Justin Houston.
That linebacker, I forget his name.
Yeah, McCoy. That defense, they really weren't getting a whole lot of pressure. That was the one knock was the Colts defense wasn't really quarterback pressure-ish. But yeah, I got Colts, Texans second. I got the Jaguars third, only because Nick Foles is there, but who is he throwing the ball to? I mean, it's D.D. Westbrook and I think Keelan Cole. I mean, yeah, they're going to lead. They're going to be a run-heavy team, but you want to air the ball out. Nick Foles can push the ball down the field, and I just don't know who's going to catch it. So who knows? I mean, their defense is still intact, so the defense can carry them to some wins. I got the Titans bringing up the rear.
Cool. AFC West. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I love how they addressed the defensive end quite a bit in free agency and the draft. They took on Tyrann Mathieu. They ended up taking on that kid Frank Clark from Seattle, giving him a big contract.
Yep.
Even though Tyreek Hill's not going to be there, I still think they'll have a dynamic offense with Pat Mahomes, and they'll probably end up winning that division.
Especially with Mecole Hardman, that kid they picked up from Georgia.
Exactly right. That's a clear on replacement for Tyreek Hill. Like there's a good chance Tyreek Hill will never play in the NFL again, and let's hope that's the case. Second in that division, I think the Chargers are going to make a hard run again. Obviously, they have one of the most stacked rosters in all of football. They just can't seem to put it together. I think it's that inexperience that they have. They don't know how to win just yet. I know Philip Rivers has been around for a while, but that team is young. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even the head coaching staff is a little young, and that was on full display when they went up to New England last year and kind of got their doors blown off. Yeah. Third in that division is probably going to be the Raiders. They've made a lot of noise.
Oh, shit. You got the Broncos coming up in the rear?
Broncos are straight up last. I have no faith in Joe Flacco. They'll be probably I would say 4-10, and they're going to throw out Drew Lock for the last 2 games of the year just to give him some experience, but they're not going to be good, man.
I'm going to go I got the Chargers going first just because I have more faith a little bit in that offense just because we all agree to a man that Tyreek Hill has no place in the league, but the league hasn't come out and said anything yet.
Yeah,
so
piece of shit.
It could be the ultimate plot twist.
Piece of crap.
Yeah,
I just need Vince McMahon to get in line with Tyreek Hill and say, "You're fired,
Tyreek Hill. You're fired."
Dude, once an episode, we just got to drop that in.
Yeah, drop that for our boy Freddie. But no, I got the Chargers.
I can feel my throat already.
I got the Chargers. You got Melvin Gordon still there. You got Keenan Allen and Big Williams on the other side of the field. You got my boy Philip Rivers. And they added to that secondary that was already good with Nasir Adderley. He's probably one of the best safeties in the draft. I think they're the most complete team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I got the Chiefs coming in second. They address some of the defensive issues with the new defensive coordinator and Steve Spagnuolo. They got Frank Clark. They took a couple of defensive tackles and safeties in the draft to address the glaring holes that were on display in the AFC Championship game. And Mecole Hardman, like we said for the past 2 weeks, planning for life after Tyreek Hill. You still need someone to stretch the field. He can totally do that. I have the Broncos third.
Oh, really? Wow.
Just because Flacco can push the ball down the field. I mean, he's gonna be light years better than Case Keenum. I think Case Keenum was just a flash in the pan in Minnesota, in my opinion. And then they have that run game with Philip Lindsay. He's going to be back. My boy, Mighty Mouse, Philip Lindsay. And then Josh Freeman? His last name's Freeman.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get more carries. He's probably going to be the bruiser out of the two just because, I mean, he's built like my refrigerator over here.
Nice. C.J. Anderson part 2?
Yeah, maybe. No, CJ was the Whirlpool.
Yeah.
The Whirlpool. And then I got the Raiders coming up in the rear just because they made improvements on the defense, but it's not going to be enough in this high-power division. And then who knows with Antonio Brown? If he's not we've established he's one of those guys that if he's getting those looks, it doesn't matter if it's in a win or a loss, as long as he's happy.
Do you think Drew Lock will play this year? Because I think he'll play the last 2 or 3 games when they're just out of it and they want to give him some experience. Do you think Drew Lock will step in for the Broncos this year?
I don't think so. I don't think. I can't remember where their bye week is. If they're maybe a few games below 500, I could see it just because they have no risk involved. They only burnt for once. They were patient and waited, and they only burned a second-round draft pick on him. So if they wanted to start him towards the end of the year, if they weren't panning out, and then all of next season, they're not really tied to guaranteed money with Joe Flacco, and they only have a second-round draft pick in Drew Lock. Why not roll the dice? I think you're going to see Flacco all year unless he gets knocked out.
Sure.
But that's just me.
Who do you think plays before? I'm sorry. Who do you think will play quicker, Daniel Jones or Drew Lock?
Probably DJ.
Really?
I think some of the offensive coordinator Shula came out at a press conference earlier this week saying that if need be he could start week 1. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing more rumblings of talent evaluators and scouts come out and say, at least when they're at Giants camp, that he can run the offense. He's pushing the ball down the field. He's athletic. He can do the job that needs to be done. I honestly think that if they're below 500, 5 games in, he's going to start. I think he's going to start sooner.
All right, cool.
Long answer, yes.
Cool. We should say that for the next division, which is the NFC East, right? This is one of those divisions that I said I have absolutely no idea on. This is one of those divisions you can't pick, man. And especially with all the turmoil, everything that's going around, all the bullshit. Especially, if I had to guess, it would probably come down to the Eagles and the Cowboys.
That's what I think too.
Win that division. I just don't know who it'll be. It's a toss-up, truthfully. And then probably third place will be the Redskins with Dwayne Haskins probably stepping in week 1, truthfully.
I think he's going to win out. I think this whole thing is Jay Gruden, at this point, has tied his job to Dwayne Haskins.
Sure.
So,
and, obviously, this take it with a grain of salt because it is what it is. But out of out of rookie minicamp already, they're saying Haskins looked great, right? But then again, they're gonna say that just again, like they said, Daniel Jones looked great in rookie minicamp. So I don't put too much stock into that. But
I want to see what happens with the veterans.
Exactly right. So he'll end up starting, and he'll be third place, and then the fourth and last place Giants. Complete dumpster fire. Hate everything that they do. Jacoby's a piece of crap. It is what it is.
I mean, I'm going with the Eagles just because they made improvements on the defense. They got Malik Jackson to replace Michael Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Bennett went up to New England. They got Deshaun Jackson to go outside, and Jordan Howard. Doug Peterson, even from fantasy perspectives, any running back in the Eagles system is going to drive you bonkers because there's 5 people, and he's trying to split the carries between 5 different bodies. But I think Jordan Howard and that running back they picked up out of Penn State, Miles Sanders, he played second fiddle to Saquon Barkley, and he was his successor. I think that's going to be those are the lead backs is Howard and Sanders with a little bit of Josh Adams sprinkled in there. I got the Cowboys second, just because. It's Dallas. In my opinion, not to sound like Stephen A. Smith, they're going to start off hot, and then they're going to fade towards the end. And now we're not even at mandatory minicamp, and there's contract disputes or rumblings between, is Ezekiel Elliott going to get paid? Amari Cooper is asking for an insane amount of money for, in my opinion, being one of the most inconsistent wide receivers in the league over the past couple of years. And is Dak Prescott worth $30 million a year?
Absolutely.
I don't think so. I mean, he's like, I guess you could say a game manager. He can run the ball. He can.
I think he's throw the ball down. He's a little better than a game manager, but he's not that elite level,
he's not
right?
Worth $30 million.
He'll be in that spot where he's better than Alex Smith, but obviously he's not that Carson Wentz level. You know what I'm saying?
Out of those 3, Zeke needs to get paid because.
Mm-hmm. He's the main driving force of that offense.
Before Amari Cooper got there, when that offense was sputtering, it wasn't Dak that put the team on his back. It was Zeke. It was Zeke. Yep. It was Zeke with that offensive line. Yep. Zeke needs to get paid.
And on top of that, Amari Cooper needs to stop with his fucking request of $16 million a year. Are you kidding me, bro?
Dude, you're one step away from being considered a bust.
You're not
what
that
have
good.
you done?
You're good, I get it, but you're not that good. You're not $16 million a year good, all right? So chill the hell out.
Last two years that I've seen of Amari Cooper, he had one really monster game for the Oakland Raiders when they made it a point to just force feed him the ball with 15 catches and 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. I know because I faced a guy that had Amari Cooper on his fantasy team that week.
And Cooper needs to understand, if he takes all the money and Zeke leaves, then he's fucked. Because Zeke taking the pressure off of Amari Cooper is the reason why he's getting all these looks and all these catches. There's a reason why your offense looks so great is because the engine of that offense is Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
He's got to get paid to make sure Dak and Amari Cooper are successful.
Right. I think fair range, Dak no more than $23 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but then again, it's a quarterback's market, man. I think you can get away with paying Dak Prescott and paying Ezekiel Elliott, but you just can't get away with paying all three of those guys.
Right, right. And then I got the Redskins third. Dwayne Haskins, he fits. He's a purest thrower, but if you think just because of the salary cap implications of Alex Smith going down, he's really not that big of a salary cap hit. So I think they're gonna finish third. There's a work in progress. Giants are bringing up the rear. Better luck next year, G-men. But in my opinion, you're on your way.
The Little Giants.
Hey, that was a good movie. They surprised the Dallas Cowboys at the end too. Just saying. Just bring back the icebox.
Next up, the NFC North. I have the Packers winning this. This is more about Aaron Rodgers' prove-it year, man. He cannot year in and year out look as bad as he has last few years. This is the year he just goes out there, slings the ball all over the field. He has his coach that he wants that will be an offensive mind that can be more, I guess, more flexible with the play calling than McCarthy was. So this is on Aaron Rodgers right now, man. He's going to come out slinging, and he's going to be a great fantasy stat stuffer. Hopefully that translates to some wins. But with their defensive picks in that draft for the Packers, with Rashawn Gray being the linebacker for the future, I think they will have some success and win that division. Secondly, I got the Bears winning second in that division. I do like Mitchell Trubisky developing some more this year. I just don't see him taking a massive leap forward like a Pat Mahomes in second year or whatever it is, right? Third, I have the Vikings, and fourth, the Detroit Lions.
All right. I got Bears first. I'm going to go with, I think Trubisky's going to take a bigger step than last season. I think last year, a lot of people like Mike Florio was saying that his last drive to just get into field goal range.
That was big.
That showed a lot.
That was big.
It wasn't just him running and gunning. He was making throws and like on a rope and putting him in tight windows. I think he's going to take a huge step, especially with finally having stability at head coach with Matt Nagy. I think it's going to be huge. Mike Davis, running back, they picked up in free agency, and then David Montgomery. If you look at the tape, he jumped out at me as Kareem Hunt-esque. He can catch the ball. He's super explosive in his runs. I think they have a lot of potential in the running game in Chicago, and I have them finishing first. Green Bay, I got second. They addressed a lot of their defensive issues. My only thing is I want to see how Aaron Rodgers is going to coexist with a first-year head coach that he likes movement and shifting the formations and moving wide receivers to draw out the coverage that the defense is doing. And I think Aaron Rodgers has been on the record saying that he hates motion. So he's going to have to go into that offense with an open mind.
What does he mean by hates motion?
Just like moving, say, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Say if he was on the outside and you want to motion him over.
Well, how does he know what's man zone if he doesn't motion backwards and wide receivers?
That's just one of the things that insiders have been saying is he's not a big fan of motion. Andy Benoit of the Monday Morning Quarterback at Sports Illustrated, he's pointed that out many a time with the LaFleur signing that he's going to have to go in with an open mind. Like he's going to be taking some of the calls away from Aaron Rodgers. He's going to want to manage the game for Aaron so he has less to do at the line of scrimmage kind of a deal.
Sure.
So if he's willing to accept that, that's fine. I got Minnesota at 3. The defense is still intact. They got Gary Kubiak. They're probably going to be a more balanced offense with running and Dalvin Cook being a full year removed from knee surgery. And I got Detroit being 4th. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, TJ Hawkinson, they took him in the first round. He's going to have to perform because they passed on a lot of defensive prospects. I just hope he doesn't go the route of Eric Ebron when he was taken that high. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. The next up being the NFC South, another division that is so competitive, man. Like, I really don't know at this point. It's a toss-up, truthfully. If I had to guess, I'm leaning towards the Falcons just because this division has been known to not have back-to-back winners, like the Saints won last year. So there's a good chance they won't win it this year. I like what the Falcons did in the draft. I love their first 2 picks with Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGarry. Both are offensive tackles to help Matt Ryan out some more. Their 4th-round pick being Kendall Sheffield from Ohio State. State. John Kaminsky is the defensive end they took in the 4th round as well. So a little bit of both, helping out on both ends of the field, helping out both Matt Ryan and the defensive side of the field as well. But then again, it's a toss-up with the division, man. I think secondly, if I had to guess, will be in second position will be the Saints. Probably third will be the Buccaneers, and fourth will be the Panthers. With the shocker being that Will Greer will actually play some games toward the end of the year.
I think he's going to play some games.
I
too.
think
you don't take him that high.
I think the quarterback that they selected in the draft this year, Will Greer, will play probably towards the end of the year. If I had to guess, Cam Newton will probably get hurt halfway through again. That shoulder recovery isn't going as planned, apparently.
Right. I mean, he's saying he feels good, but I mean, we're at May 12th, and he still hasn't thrown a football yet. So, I mean, this could go the route of, Andrew Luck 2 years ago, where he's saying he's fine, and then it just kept getting dragged out to the point where he didn't play at all. Mm-hmm. Or this could be Andrew Luck last season, where, all right, we're going to throw around high school football and work out kinks the first 3 weeks of the season, and then we're just going to come on like gangbusters. But I'm with you. I think you're going to see Will Greer at some point.
And the final point, I can also see the Buccaneers coming out of this division, man. They got great staffing. They got great coaching staffs all across the team there. So I think they're a dark horse team in this division. Jameis Winston's last year, truthfully, if he doesn't shine now with Bruce Arians.
At this point, he's going to be a free. If he sucks, he's gone.
If you're a quarterback and you can't make it with Bruce Arians, then you're not going to be in the NFL for long. So this is going to be his last chance, and I think they could be a dark horse team. Maybe borderline playoff team, depending on how they start out.
Right. The only thing is that defense. That was another. Jesus Christ! If you're playing fantasy football, you got a guy going up against Tampa Bay, you're going to feel pretty good. I think this is a Saints division to lose. I mean, they added Jared Cook to replace Ben Watson's production, and they really didn't have much of a tight end game, I guess you could say. Jared Cook is coming off a career year in Oakland, and I think Sean Payton's going to use him to the fullest extent. They took center Eric McCoy in the draft. This is a huge piece to fill because Max Unger retired in the offseason. And they added more safety depth with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Yes, say that 3 times fast. And Saquon Hampton. I mean, you can't have enough depth at the safety position, especially in this division. Mm-hmm. You're playing in a dome most of the time. It's a track meet. And I have the Panthers surprising some people. I got them second. They added Bruce Irvin in the offseason. Will Greer, we already talked about. I think he's going to play more. Brian Burns was a good prospect, the outside linebacker. Can also play the edge as well, too. And I think he's going to learn a lot under Luke Kuechly. And Falcons, we talked about the offensive line. You got to protect Matt Ryan at this point in the game. He needs time to throw the ball to Julio Jones. And I got the Bucs finishing 4th, but Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles, I mean, if anyone's going to find a way to make it work down in Florida, it's going to be these two guys. And Devin White is a huge pickup for them at linebacker in the draft. One of the best linebacker prospect this season in the draft. So that's huge.
Cool. The final division being the NFC West. Also another division where a lot can pan out. I'm really interested to see what the Rams are going to do this year. I think they will have a Super Bowl hangover. I think this is for a young team with McVay being a young head coach. I think coming off a Super Bowl loss like that, I think they're going to have a major hangover and probably not even make the playoffs, truthfully. I think they're going to have a bad year. With that being said, I think the Seahawks are going to win this division with a close second coming in with the 49ers. I love what the 49ers did. I like the Quan Alexander pickup. I like that they drafted Nick Bosa out of Ohio State. Can Jimmy G stay healthy? At the end of the day, I never had an issue with Jimmy G's athletic ability. I always had an issue with him staying on the field and not being hurt all the time. If he can stay healthy, I think there's a good chance they can make the playoffs as well. So it's more of a little bit of a toss-up between the Seahawks and the 49ers, but I think the Rams will regress and go down to 3rd spot. Coming in the rear, Kyler Murray, dude's barely bigger than a garden gnome. It'll be interesting to see if he can throw over the offensive line. I think Kingsbury will help him out and hide some of his deficiencies, but I still think he's not good enough to lead a playoff team just yet.
Right. I mean, I just want to see how is he I said it last week too. How is he going to do better than Josh Rosen with essentially the same pieces and the same offensive line that had Rosen? I heard the stat somewhere. I think it was on Shocker Monday Morning Quarterback or somewhere on Twitter that Josh Rosen, his average time between the snap to either getting the ball out or getting sacked was about 2 seconds.
Wow.
So that was essentially a free rusher on every play for Josh Rosen. And I want to see how Murray's going to do with that. I'm going to go 49ers first. I really like what they did in the offseason, and you're going to get a healthy Jimmy G. Jerick McKinnon, who tore his ACL up right in the middle of training camp. So he's going to be coming back into week 1 with a fully healed ACL. So he'll be able to run a little bit more and cut a little bit more. He won't have to be that hesitant. Tevin Coleman, D Ford, and then you got Nick Bosa. I mean, I think they're probably the most, short of that secondary, the most all-around team. The only thing is, that defense was historically bad. I think they only had like 7 turnovers last year.
Sure.
So,
but Nick Bosa and Quan Alexander are going to help. And,
Right.
and D Ford as well.
Right. You're going to be
Totally
able to
forgot
get
about
after
D
it.
Ford. I mean, like those 3 right there, man. Like that's
They'll help generate turnovers.
Yeah,
They're going to help
exactly.
create pressure, and the quarterbacks just want to get the ball out. And Richard Sherman, the other secondary guys, they should thrive. If they don't get more than, say, 9 interceptions as a team or 9 turnovers
Something's wrong
anyway,
then. Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's all going to come down to Jimmy G's health, truthfully.
Right. And then I got the Rams second. They picked up Weddle. Here's the telling thing for me is Malcolm Brown is the backup running back for Todd Gurley, and the Detroit Lions offered him a contract. He was a restricted free agent, and the Rams matched that, and he had to come back. Yeah. So I don't think they're fully confident in Gurley's health and strength in that knee. Mm-hmm. That he had an injury in college, and now it flared up for the world to see in the Super Bowl and the playoff run. And they lost C.J. Anderson, so I don't really know what they're going to do. They picked up a running back in Darrell Henderson from Memphis, so that's going to add some more depth. I got the Seahawks at 3rd, and Kyler Murray, you're bringing up the rear, dude. Good luck, Chuck. I don't know what to tell you.
Did you hear that story this week that apparently Sean McVay came out and said he over-prepared for the Super Bowl?
I can believe that. I mean, there is a saying, paralysis by analysis, for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not... He could have probably watched 2 days worth of tape, and I honestly think the same result would have happened. You got Jared Goff looking at zero blitz the whole game, and he doesn't really know what the hell that is because nobody really ran zero blitz against him this year.
I just found it funny because there was some national reporter that tweeted out that story, and it said, just what a millennial would say, I put in too much work, Right. And I laughed really hard at that. I'm like, dude, don't even say shit like that. Just be like, we lost the game and it is what it is,
Right.
So.
No, I could buy that. The only thing I have with the Seahawks is, short of Tyler Lockett, their next receiver is DK Metcalf?
Yeah, DK Metcalf, and it's going to come down to...
Baldwin retired. For those of you that haven't followed, he got retired. He got cut.
Yeah, Baldwin and both Cam Chancellor are officially done with the Seahawks. They both were field physical. Is that what the designation was?
Right, so Cam Chancellor, he was designated with a failed physical. He's essentially been retired, so it's no real shock. But Doug Baldwin was surprising because that signals the end of an era.
Yep.
He's been battling issues. He had a shoulder and a knee, and this offseason he's been dealing with a groin issue from last season, and there's been rumors that he was going to retire, but by designating him failed with the physical, from my understanding, they're able to keep their signing bonus money. Mm-hmm. So the team cut them, but they did them a favor by designating them with the failed physical instead of just outright cutting them, and you don't have a fucking signing bonus anymore. So
cool.
I don't know. Yeah. Lockett and DK Metcalf. They're going to be a run-heavy team.
Well, that's my point, right? So they're going to rely on the run game again this year. They're going to run, play action down to DK Metcalf as much as possible. That's the game plan they had last year. Some people were like, why aren't they letting Russell Wilson throw more? Well, because he doesn't have the weapons to throw to. So run the ball as much as possible. Right. Have a good defensive scheme as well.
That's how they got the Super Bowl too. Was just feed Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Marshawn Lynch because I have a story for you about Marshawn Lynch. Did you hear about this?
What the AAF?
Yeah.
The promo. The gist, want to be paid in quarters.
The gist was apparently Charlie Ebersol and the AAF were like, "Hey, buddy, why don't you come do an interview with us?" And when you do interviews, you generally don't get money, but for some reason, Marshawn Lynch was like, "All right, sure, why not? I'll do it for $5,000." And the AAF agreed to it. And once they presented him with a check, Marshawn Lynch was like, no. I want this all in quarters.
Ebersol did it.
And Ebersol agreed. He was like, all right, I'll pay you 20,000 quarters. Who the fuck
That was a great art. I don't know if you read that in the follow-up by Connor, or that was a great article, because then you have like a failed attempt to get Bill Murray to do a promo for them during the Super Bowl or just after, and I think Bill Murray was quoted saying, "Oh, well, let me check my horoscope," and he never got back to the league. So
that's a bad look. But it's just I find that funny because that's the ultimate Marshawn Lynch story.
Right.
That is the ultimate
Skittles
Marshawn Lynch story. I saw that and I just laughed. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Come on, you know? But yeah, that's a wrap on that, bro. Get ready for football, man.
Likewise.
Can't come here close soon enough, you know?
Yes, sir. It's gonna be good. You heard our tentative picks here first.
Yeah, and don't hold us to these picks, people. Like it's the middle of May. We have so much to get through. Our official picks will come on the weekend before the kickoff of the NFL season. That's when we make all our picks. That's when all the injuries have taken place in training camp. That's when all the cuts have taken place, and that's when you have a good idea of when you can make a prediction for an NFL team. And even truthfully, in my personal experience, the last like 5 or 6 years, it wasn't until 4 games in is when I realized that's when you can make a good judgment about what's going to happen. 4 games in, everybody seems to get their sea legs. Everybody seems to get their feel. Everybody gets their mojo going. You start to see which teams are good, which teams aren't that good. And 4 games in, 25% of the season is when you have a good idea of what's going to happen for the rest of the season. So
it's going to be interesting. Well, we'll break down our tentative win-losses as we get closer to the kickoff of the year, but that's our tentative stuff right here.
Cool, awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining in. I will give it to Puma here to give us the plugs.
Yeah, so the plugs. You can find us on Facebook at Pro Football Radio Podcast, Instagram Pro Football Radio Podcast, Twitter PFR Podcast, myself Brando _Puma on the Twitter machine, Brando _Puma on the Twitter machine, Cheema at Cheema. Otherwise, you have any questions, comments, takes you want us to, air out on here, hit us up with a message. By all means, this is your podcast. Get involved. We want to hear from you guys. And
do we have any questions this week or no?
It was like we had like 1 or 2. One of them was fantasy wise.
Yeah. Should we hold it off for next week, or do you want to do them right now?
I mean, how much time? Where are we at in time?
We're like at 56 minutes.
Yeah, you can do the fantasy one.
Fuck it, let's do it.
All right. So from Blake, the 802. His question was, for fantasy football, what do you think are the top 2 positions? Not top 2, but like top 2 players at each position. So give me 2 quarterbacks, running backs, wide
all right, so I'll start with the quarterbacks. For me, it's going to be Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers, just because there's been so much shit talking about those guys this offseason. They got to come out and perform. For those 2 guys, they got to come out and light the world on fire to show everybody their worth. So Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers will be my 2 quarterbacks you should target in the draft.
Okay, what about wide receiver?
Wide receivers. Julio Jones, always love Julio Jones, and Odell Beckham Jr. I'm always big on Odell Beckham Jr., so I think those 2 will be my 2 wide receivers. Running backs. I should be more prepared for this. I totally forgot we had this question.
Where you go?
It's a little too early for Saquon Barkley, definitely, and Zeke Elliott. Easy right there. I'm saying those 2. And then tight end, Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league right now. Safe bet right there. And then what else are we missing? Defense?
I mean, you got tight end's kind of thin.
Yeah.
But just Kelce. In my opinion, at tight end, you got Kelce, and then George Kittle. Mm-hmm. I think George Kittle might be. It's close, but I think he's a little bit better than Zach Ertz. Mm-hmm. And then defense. I could give a shit about a kicker.
Yeah.
But defense. What do you think?
Defense. Best defense in the league next year will be. I'll go with the Jets defense. Why not?
All right.
I could throw it out there. Right. Take a little shot. Jets
5
defense.
Picks, quarterback, Pat Mahomes. I think he's still going to produce. And then Deshaun Watson. They made a concerted effort to protect the investment with what they did in the draft. I think those are going to be your top 2 quarterbacks in the fantasy football this year. Running back, Saquon Barkley, and I'm with you, Zeke Elliott. 3rd for me, though, is going to be Christian McCaffrey.
Oh,
just because they're just force-feeding them. I mean, they really don't have a whole lot of pass catchers there. Mm-hmm. Wide receiver, Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins. D-Hop is like matchup proof. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. He's going to get the ball. He's super reliable. Death taxes, DeAndre Hopkins coming down with the ball. Tight end, like I said, I got Travis Kelce and George Kittle as tight ends to target. And defense, going to go Jacksonville still. And the Bears second. They're still going to be one of the top.
Bears.
They're going to be one of the top defenses, but they lost Vic Fangio. He went from defensive coordinator to head coach of the Denver Broncos. They got Chuck Pagano as their new defensive coordinator, so they're still in good hands. But I want to see what Chuck is going to do that Vic Fangio did not do. Vic was super elaborate and super designs with his blitz packages and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see. Those are what I would target.
Cool. Awesome. Well, obviously we'll have a lot more football, fantasy football coverage as the season comes around. We'll have the Pro Football Radio Fantasy Football League as well.
Oh, yes.
We need 8 dedicated listeners that will join us in our league. And other than that, that's all I have. You want to do the Your Fired one last time? I see you getting the echo button going there.
Yeah, so let me do the plugs one more time. So Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, Twitter, PFR Podcast, Brendo_Puma on the Twitter, Cheema at Cheema, and for our boy Freddie, true friend of the podcast, Freddie, you're fired!
God, I felt that on my chest.
Otherwise, vaya con Dios.